All right, 8 o'clock Wednesday evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. This is our Wednesday edition of Weather Impact Live. And I tell you what, we have another named storm. And I kind of have to emphasize that because it has been quiet. I think go back to about the 23rd of August through yesterday, the 16th, no name storms. That period of no name storms has never happened in 86 years. So it's been quiet, okay? And so we were bound to get a storm or two, and now we do have one. And in fact, we had Tropical Depression 7 go to Tropical Storm Gabrielle today. We have two other waves that we are keeping an eye on right now. Kind of makes sense for things to start popping here just a little bit. Having said all of that, I do not see a big threat to the United States, especially Florida, okay? We're looking good right now. Let's jump into it. Let me show you what we're talking about. So here's the big picture. You can see I've got Tropical Storm Gabrielle on it here, and there's the cone. Bermuda, by the way, is right there. And then we've got a wave that's right here that comes off to the west, and this wave right here is part of this one, kind of following behind where Gabrielle has gone so far. So let's get started with Tropical Storm Gabrielle. Winds updated this evening to 50 miles per hour. Pressure to 1,005 millibars. It's moving to the northwest now at 14 miles per hour. That has slowed down a little bit. But I got to be honest with you, this thing is sheared apart. I'm really kind of surprised that we still have a tropical storm here. I mean, if you notice when the sun goes down, you see the rotation sitting out here. The center is right there. All right, and all of the convection is out to the north and east of it because of wind shear that's blowing in like this. And in fact, look at these clouds here. You see these higher clouds kind of going in like that? They're up there in that wind. They're going the same speed at the tops of these thunderstorms. All right, so this is a very, very sheared storm at this particular point. There's no central dense overcast is what we call that. Lots of clouds around the center. But nonetheless, we've got a tropical storm. The Hurricane Center does think that this thing holds together, at least for the next 24 to 48 hours, at about 50 mile per hour winds. And then you can see it does start to pick it up a little bit by late Friday night. So through the day tomorrow, most of the day on Friday, still 50 mile per hour winds. This whole stretch in here, it's going to continue to see a lot of wind shear. Okay, and then as it moves a little bit further to the north, the wind shear will die down a little bit, and as such, you can see by Saturday afternoon, 65 mile per hour winds, Sunday afternoon, 75 mile per hour winds, and then 85 by Monday. So that makes it a hurricane, Cat 1, by the time we get towards Sunday afternoon. We have had 7 named storms so far this season, including Tropical Storm Gabrielle. Only one of those has been a hurricane. And that was obviously Hurricane Aaron, which kind of skidded real close to the Carolina coastline and then curved on out to sea. That at one point was a Cat 5, but everything else has just been below hurricane status. So we'll see if we can get the second hurricane here. Now, of course, we're running forecast models on it, and you can see that they generally want to recurve this near Bermuda. But I will say that these models, which are now initializing pretty good here, they want to go to the northwest and then maybe a little jog to the west and then back up. So the overall trend has been a little bit more to the west than the east. So I wouldn't be surprised if this turn, which right now the Hurricane Center has it basically near or just east of Bermuda, which is right here. They're kind of out here with all of these models. I wouldn't be surprised if this all shifts to the west just a little bit. Okay, we'll see. It looks to me in this satellite right here that the center is actually west of where the line is. In fact, let's do this while I got you here. I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to turn this icon off too. So it just to me, it's pretty close. That's pretty close to where it is. I think it's maybe a little bit to this way. But what I'm trying to find out here is how far off of this existing forecast is it centered right now? Because then you can kind of tell, is it just jogging back and forth, which they tend to do, or is it just coming further west, and that'll basically shift everything further to the west. That's the thought right now. Most of the modeling has been pretty consistent in a turn near or just east of Bermuda. And again, that's where the Hurricane Center forecast is. These are the ensembles for both the GFS and the European. The white lines there are the European. You can see they're a little bit further to the east of the GFS. Bermuda's right in here somewhere. You can see the GFS. Look at that. Look at that westerly track here and then a hard turn. Okay. There's the center, and all of these models are, especially the European, they're initializing way up here. So I'm anxious to get another run of those in overnight tonight and see what things look like in the morning. See if these white lines you see here shift a little bit to the west. I think they will a little bit, just because it doesn't look like, and when I say initialize, it means where the model started with the low pressure. All right, when you don't have a given center location, a latitude, longitude, but you have this broad area of low pressure, the models say, okay, there could be a center anywhere in here. Once we get a depression, once we get a center, and we pick a spot a lat long, that number goes into the forecast models. And then that number should be somewhere around here. But that's not what it was for the European. Okay, and I think that's a matter of time. When they first initialized, it was before we got that. So these will come in more in line as we go through the next 24 hours. Now, that I think stays okay. Now, the one thing we will watch is some swell and some rip currents for the East Coast, including the East Coast of Florida. It will not be as bad as what Aaron was. Okay, we're talking Cat 1. If that, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the thing falls apart. It's got a lot for the next 48 hours. It's going to be struggling. So I would not be surprised if it just doesn't make a hurricane at all. But if it does, the swell that it generates, because the atmosphere will be better here east of Bermuda. And if it does, that'll generate a little bit of swell to get over to the East Coast. But I think that's probably not until the latter part of this weekend and the beginning of next week before that swell even gets there. They'll get some small swell from it now, but the bigger stuff won't get here until the beginning of next week. Okay. Let's jump ahead. Let's go to the other cells that we have. So there's one right behind this X. I know it's tough to see. I'll show you a closer look. That one's going to the west here, and it has a 10% chance for development in the next 2 days, 20% days 3 through 7. Okay? This wave here is the one that's coming all the way up with this curved hatch, right? This area here. Right there is where Gabrielle is. So this one is forecast to be somewhere near there in about 3 to 4 days. Okay, and that has a 20% chance of developing days 3 through 7. So we'll keep a close eye on that. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see that's a really good complex of thunderstorms coming in off of Africa. These are the seedlings for tropical systems this time of year especially. Now, in the beginning of the season, June and July, we don't look out here very much because we don't get a lot. There's a lot of dry air. But as we get through late September and October, well, really most of September, this is where we start watching for some storms. That's where this one came from, and that's also where, but you can't see it, it's up here, Gabrielle came from. This one does not look that healthy. All right, there is some dry air around. Not a whole lot, but there is some. This one looks really healthy, so we'll see if that can maintain. It should look healthy. It's over land. The question is, how much can it maintain once it gets over the water? And then if we look at the water vapor, and let's see, I probably shouldn't do this. I don't know if it's going to cover all the way out there. And no, it doesn't. Just a bit off sides. So I don't see a whole lot of dry air in here, and that's pretty good. Obviously, this is Gabrielle. This is the first system, and that's good that it's there. It's actually moistening up the atmosphere. So as system number 3 comes out, it'll run into some of this moisture that's left over. So it does have a chance. It certainly has a chance, 20% chance. All right, let's go over here. So this is pretty interesting. The Western Caribbean and the Gulf is also areas that we start watching. We watch those at the beginning of the season, even in May, but certainly June and July. And then in August and September, we start shifting our looks further. I didn't want to do that. Further to the east, the central, maybe the Eastern Caribbean, and then obviously where we are right now, we're watching the Central and Eastern Atlantic, okay? I want to take you back to 1 year ago today. We had an area hatched right here by the Hurricane Center, and they said it was a 20% chance of development. That, 1 year ago today, that was the seedling of Hurricane Helene that went up just like that. So looking at it right now, we do have actually quite a bit of convection here, something that we would watch, but we also have a ton of wind shear coming in and going up just like this. You can see how the clouds are blowing. There's not a lot of shear down here, but it doesn't look like we're going to get much development from that area, even though it does have quite a bit of thunderstorm activity. But wow, I mean, just imagine, where we were at last year, and that was after Debbie, right? And then we were probably about, 6-7 days, 8 days before landfall in the Panhandle from Helene. And remember Helene, which gave us all that flooding, 5 to 8 foot surge. We hadn't seen that over 100 years. The center didn't even come on shore here in Tampa. That was 100 miles offshore, okay, drifting to the north and the northwest or northeast, and made landfall up in the Panhandle, so the Big Bend area. So yeah, we don't need a direct hit here, and so that's why one of the reasons we really watch this area very closely. Let's talk a little bit about the forecast models. This is the European. Here is where it thinks Gabrielle is. There's Cape Verde Islands. It's not really seeing much here. There's the other wave. So let's go out in time. Let's go out to Friday. There it is. Look, it's weakening this thing, right? It doesn't have much to it. There's nothing here for the second wave, and then the third wave still coming off. All right, so let's go out through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and here it is. It definitely, remember, there's a bunch of shear in here, so Gabrielle struggle, and then it gets further to the north, and it starts to develop and move out to the north and the east. All right, so that's through Monday, okay? Wave number 2 is somewhere in here. That's probably it right here, okay? Weaker wester. The weaker this thing is, the more it's going to go to the west. The stronger it is, the more it'll turn to go to the northwest. This is very weak. It looks like it's going to be wester, and then you'll see the other one that doesn't really come off of it. All right, let's take a quick break, guys. We'll come back. I want to talk about that wind shear. We'll look at some of the drier air in the atmosphere over the tropics. There's not a whole lot of it. I wish there was more. And then we'll get into a little bit of a local forecast right after this break. Weather impacts your life every day. I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. You can find out about any change in the weather with our 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. Just stream for the latest forecast, any weather impact alert, updated tropics forecast, and take a live look at the radar. Anytime you want, and it's free. It's just one more way we're helping you stay informed, prepared, and connected. Stream 10 Tampa Bay Plus.
Jeopardy is for everybody.
That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
With players just like you.
Paramedic, a retired teacher, psychiatrist.
I'm a little bit competitive.
That's the spirit.
Watch their victories.
We have a giant killer.
And heartbreaks.
Oh, no.
The next super champion could be anyone.
It's almost like a superhero origin story.
It could be you.
Oh, wow.
It's all happening on Jeopardy.
Jeopardy weeknights at 7:30 right here on 10 Tampa Bay.
I was driving when an 18-wheeler turned in front of me. I locked up my brakes, bam, slid dead into the truck. Bloody and hurt, I was loaded into an ambulance, and that's when I put out my phone and called attorney Dan Newton. Dan jumped right on it. He was in my corner the whole way. He fought the fight from beginning to end and got me $1 million.
Involved in a car accident? Call me now at 813-888-8000.
Dan, your awesome team deserves 6 stars. Thank you for winning my case.
Before hurricane season hits, it's time to prep your home. Secure outdoor equipment and generators. Clear debris from around your AC unit and schedule a pre-storm HVAC and electrical inspection.
Those are some great tips, and Cool Today is here to help you weather the storm. For over 60 years, we've been here to help Floridians with their cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. We can help you prepare, protect, and repair your home. Call 888-40-TODAY.
All right, 8:14, back with the European model because I want to start looking a little bit ahead and a little bit closer to home. Let's go through next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday into Friday, and now Saturday, okay? So what's happened, we've had Gabrielle come up and out. That's what's left of it up here, okay? The first wave didn't do anything. It came in the Caribbean. But what is this? You see that little low right there? And it's very, very tiny. There's nothing to it. I don't want to raise any alarm, but I'm going to back up. I want you to watch that area there in the Bahamas. You see that little yellow going northward? The European model and some of the runs is suggesting that a low tries to form here in the Bahamas and curves up the coast, goes maybe towards the Carolinas or recurves out to sea in about a week, week and a half. That's a long time in hurricane forecasting, so that's why we really don't mention it too much, especially if you're watching us during one of our regular weathers, 3.5-minute weathers that you're going to see on TV. But Couple things to note. That's there, and then here's another one here. Again, remember, these are areas that we would be watching. But also notice there's not a lot out here, okay? Not a lot out here at this particular time, so we'll see what happens. Now, one of the reasons why I bring that up is because of this. Carolina, you know, when Aaron went by, went pretty close to the Outer Banks, they had all that surf. Watch this. This is a 48-hour loop. Look at the center. I'm going to follow the center. Look at this thing. Look at that. Look at the eye-like feature. This is last night, and then this is today. Look at the rain it's bringing through Raleigh. And now it's kind of sitting right here. It's just doing a big loop and falling apart. That was a non-tropical low that caused all kinds of problems once again for the Outer Banks. Take a look at this video. There was overwash again in the Outer Banks, Highway 12. Look at this. We've been watching these houses to see if they would stand for Aaron. Of course, Aaron took some out. It weakened some others, and then now this one just went down. Here this past 2 days ago. Yesterday, I think this was late yesterday that happened. So actually 2 days ago now at this particular point. But man, it's just one of those summers for them. That's 2 storms in a row, and this one wasn't even tropical. And one of the ways that we know is the air was so cool. The temperature's in the 60s because there was cooler air inland, north and west of the coast there, and warmer air out over the Gulf Stream waters, and that kind of made basically like a nor'easter, and that's what did all of that. All right, now let's get back and talk a little bit about some of that shear that I was saying. Ton of it over the Gulf. That is fantastic. We want that. Keep an eye on the Gulf as I go through. Let's go through what? Through Friday. I'm going to go through the upcoming weekend, Saturday, Sunday. This is Monday. And you see all of this? You see that? That is fantastic because anything coming up at us is going to run into that and get sheared apart. It's going to look like what Gabrielle looks like right now. The center would be right here, but all the thunderstorms would be over here. So it doesn't mean because we have this that we can't get weather from the tropics. We could get a system to come up and it would blow a bunch of thunderstorms our direction, very heavy rainfall. But a strong system is not going to be able to handle that. Okay, it can't handle this shear. It would weaken it. And that's why we're barely getting 50-mile-per-hour winds out of Gabrielle now. Now, look what happens as we go through next weekend. That's not this weekend, but next. We're starting to lose a little bit of that shear. They're still in the western Gulf, but this shear was coming and going up. This was coming and going up basically right here. Okay, now it's back. It's back to the west a little bit. So this does open up this corridor a little bit more. All right, and so by the way, this is the 27th of September. Just something I'm keeping an eye on. You know, that pattern-wise, if that were to actually happen, that would give us a slightly better chance, or at least something could pop there. And if it came north, it could be a little bit stronger. So if, right? Nothing there right now. Talking about the drier air, there's been quite a bit of drier air here in the eastern Atlantic. There's still some left over, and you can see that here. A lot of moisture now wrapped around, of course, what is Gabrielle as we get into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is Monday. There's Bermuda. There it is, just east of Bermuda. What I'm trying to figure out is how much dry air is here, because that's what's coming off of Africa. And then I see these waves here, and they got pretty good amounts of moisture. So the atmosphere is changing a little bit, and it's changing for the better for development. Okay, especially out here with the more moisture in the atmosphere. We're actually getting more towards a favored MJO, which is more lift in the atmosphere, a little less wind shear as well, and things tend to pop. And then as I showed you, we're eventually going to get rid of some of that shear over the Gulf. This is Wednesday of next week. We'll see what we got in here, and then as we go out through the end of next week, about a week and a half from now, there it is, trying to see a little bit of low there. High pressure here. Yeah, if there was something like this would come more to the west or northwest than it would go to the north at this time, because this high would be blocking it. But again, this is a week and a half out. All right, so let's talk about the steering currents. High pressure, as I mentioned, to the north will block it. This big high is going to be moving out to the east, and that's what's allowing Gabrielle, whatever shape it is, to get out and get near Bermuda, or maybe east of Bermuda. So watch as it moves to the east, but then watch what happens after Gabrielle goes by. Look at this area here, little ridge starting to build, and in fact, the western edge of this ridge will push back towards the west. Watch this. You see that? In fact, the center gets out in here. So that would argue that anything coming off of here is going to have a harder time of recurving. It's going to have to come a little further to the west before it can recurve, I'd say the last week of September. Okay, next names on the list. Right now we have Gabrielle. I mean, we're looking at those other waves, but Umberto and Imelda are the next two on the list. I really don't see anything developing anytime soon with those names, so far so good. Okay, 8:20, let's take one more break. When we come back, we'll talk local weather, some of that heavy rain that's been out there this afternoon.
Windows are created and installed with different levels of quality. You need quality that can withstand the tropical climate. Our installers only install PGT custom windows and doors, so we are the go-to experts. Don't take my word for it. We have been named Best of Tampa Bay 3 years in a row, Reader's Choice in Sarasota 3 years in a row, and nationally recognized as Window and Door Dealer of the Year. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Give WeatherTight Windows a call today, and don't forget the cookies.
These big trucks are dangerous and fast. And when it comes to big truck wrecks, the stakes can be really high. That's why you need a lawyer that's gotten big results for his clients. Hi, I'm attorney Dan Newland. I've recovered billions of dollars for accident victims. So if you've been hit by one of these big trucks or involved in a car accident, call me now. Let me fight for you.
At 813-888-8000. That's 813-888-8000.
Before hurricane season hits, it's time to prep your home. Secure outdoor equipment and generators. Clear debris from around your AC unit and schedule a pre-storm HVAC and electrical inspection.
Those are some great tips. And Cool Today is here to help you weather the storm. For over 60 years, we've been here to help Floridians with their cooling, plumbing, and electrical needs. We can help you prepare, protect, and repair your home. Call 888-40 today.
Jeopardy is for everybody,
That's amazing. Oh, yeah.
with players just like you.
Paramedic, a retired teacher, psychiatrist.
I'm a little bit competitive.
That's the spirit.
Watch their victories
We have a giant killer.
and heartbreaks.
Oh, no.
The next super champion could be anyone.
It's almost like a superhero origin story.
It could be you.
Oh, wow.
It's all happening on Jeopardy!
Jeopardy weeknights at 7:30 right here on 10 Tampa Bay.
All right, 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome back, everybody. Let's talk rain, because we actually had quite a bit of it in parts of our area this afternoon. The models weren't showing it yesterday, but we were still thinking we had enough moisture, we're going to get a little bit more. And so thankfully we did go with a 50% chance for showers, because boy, oh boy, did it rain heavy. And especially in these areas out here along and south of I-4. This whole area had flood warnings, flood advisories. And in fact, most of central and southern Polk County had a flood advisory. This is light rain that's left over. You see this little area right in here? That is some light rain. It's all falling apart. This is all rain here too. This over here is not rain, although some of it is. Okay, so let me show you where we are seeing rain. This area down here towards, let me go to the next one here, towards the southern part of Pinellas County. That is still some shower activity. It's falling apart, but it will linger for, what time we got here? It's about 8:23. It'll linger for another half hour to an hour, and I can't rule out a shower really even through about 10 o'clock tonight. Most of this is going to fall apart. The further north you go, this green that you see here, most of that is not rain, but you can see the showers that just fell off the coast here. They fell off. They just moved off the west coast. Pretty good storms west of Crystal River right now that are pushing offshore. And then down off of Indian Rocks Beach, earlier today we had a water spout, real thin water spout around 6:30, about 29 minutes after 6 o'clock, right there off of Indian Rocks Beach. And obviously we don't have anything there right now. We don't expect anything like that overnight. The bigger picture, look, we had a ton of clouds out there today because of obviously the storms that we brought up this afternoon, but also because of this. All of this down south here, that's been generating a lot of cloud cover and pushing it off towards the north and the east. All right, a lot of this falls apart tonight. I think more than anything else, it shifts a little bit to the east. And so tomorrow we should see a little bit more sunshine. All right, but I still think we're going to get some of these clouds, especially Tampa southward. All right, so I don't think it's a perfectly sunny day tomorrow, but certainly most of today was actually pretty gray in the Bay Area, and I think that will be a little different as we get into tomorrow. I get nervous. I mean, anytime you see these thunderstorm complexes over warm water, this time of year, you really got to watch it. All right, closer to home, we've got the dew points coming back up, all right? They're basically near 70, 71 right now. Kind of stay that way through Saturday. Sunday, the Bucks are in town, home opener, and it's going to creep up a little bit between Sunday and Monday, and then next week, it's September. I mean, I think September and the first half of October are actually going to be warm. I think they're going to be warm, not only for us here in Florida, but I think most of the central and eastern half of the United States as well. Here's the forecast model as we go through this evening. You can see by the time we get to 11:30, most of the rain is gone. In fact, I think just about all of it is. And then tomorrow, you see the white there. That's obviously the clouds. I think we still will have some of those clouds around. I just think we'll have some more breaks. Look at this model, doesn't see them at all. That's around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. Then it gets the higher clouds coming in. I do think tomorrow will be drier, so rain chance drops from 50 to 60% today down to about 30% for tomorrow, and the best timing will be in the afternoon and early evening hours. So there's your forecast for this evening. At least, you know, we had all that rain-cooled air. It knocked temperatures down quickly.